feel like this is going to be an interesting topic because I've mentioned it to a couple of people just like in passing, and I've gotten different responses. So today we're going to be talking about fire and desire. And by fire, I mean like in the sense passion.
Okay.
Right? And desire as in how important is it to you when you're in a relationship or you have a partner in any kind of way to feel that they desire you? And how does that affect your self-image and your self-worth?
So I feel when it comes to this, you immediately put it to a partner, and I can already say with confidence that when you put it to another person, that's somebody that's out of your control. Mm-hmm. So I don't find it that important that my partner is passionate in me. What I do find important is that my partner is passionate in themselves in the same way that I'm passionate about myself or about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's different when you find somebody that's like into you, but they don't take care of themselves. Oh. You know what I mean? Yeah. And when they do that, there's a disconnect. You know what I mean? They don't love themselves. Or the opposite, when they love themselves too much to the point where they have their vanities through the roof. It's unbearable. Yeah, right. So I feel like that what puts me into control is when I work on myself. I guess I could summarize it the simplest way by saying a tweet that I read recently about this rich man's advice to young guys. And he says, you'll never lose women chasing money, but you'll lose money chasing women.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we're not talking about women or money. We're talking about you'll never lose if you're chasing your goals, basically. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's where I sit in on the spectrum. It's like whether my partner likes it or not, I'm gonna get shit done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that should be what I'm attracted to or what they would be attracted to.
Absolutely. You have to have somebody that has that, and we're going to use fire in a different way, but has that kind of same drive and that fire the way that you do. When the person doesn't have that same motivation and drive the way that you do, they're not going to understand it, so therefore they're not going to be able to support it.
Yeah.
And help to keep it going.
I agree. Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to talk about desire because, as I mentioned before, I've had conversations with men, and it has severely affected not just their state of mind, but the relationship, because their partner does not show any kind of desire for them physically.
Okay.
And so, these are typically people that are have been married or recently divorced, and now it's an obsession for them. It's an obsession in such a way to where they need to be validated sexually constantly, so that way they can have confidence.
What do you think about that?
I think she's right in a sense of what she says. Having the woman to be able to be around the man at all times, to a certain perspective of understandings, like in other words, what you just said, you have to be sexual, you have to be this, you have to be I want more. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In order to feel confident in a certain way. Because confidence can be shut down by being turned down so many times.
Yeah.
A lot of women end up getting cheated on, and a lot of people think, because es un puto or whatever the hell. Right. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes the woman turns down too much, so the guy just finds somebody that says yes. Okay. And that's that. You know what I mean? So I kind of understand how she's saying it, because I felt like that for a good while in my relationship that I had, and I felt like there's certain areas where I felt like I needed her, or else it was like I was losing something.
Really?
Yeah. I felt like I was unnecessary. It's like, if I don't have that, then what am I here for? You get what I mean?
Okay.
It just felt odd.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to that perspective, it's something, to have a female, to be companion, to have the companionship with you, and then being in that form of understanding that I have certain needs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then if they don't give them to you, you feel like that attention, especially if they gave you that attention at one point,
and
then
gone?
it's gone. It's like somebody's replacing it, or she lost it completely.
Yeah.
And
or,
then
or
that's,
maybe someone's not replacing it, but you just don't have it anymore.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like your ego just gets shut off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, damn it. And
That's
then
so
you kind of,
interesting.
you got to regain, you got to find that fire again. You
Yeah.
got to do all that. And
How
you got
did
to,
you do it?
how did I do what?
Like regain your fire.
It's kind of like how we were just talking about, where you kind of just have to find yourself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
You kind of like, who was I when that person was attracted to me?
Instead of who was she when this started. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause a lot of people, I love that you said that, because that's a huge differentiator with a lot of people. Is there, and they're like, oh, well, you used to love me this way. You used to be like this, but you did the right thing. You said, well, how did I used to be when that fire was there? Like, what was I doing? What did I look like? What was I wearing? What was my game kind of like?
Yeah.
And I love that you did that, because that's really the first step. When you lose a fire, you got to look, okay, what was I doing back then?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe I was more adventurous. Maybe I took more initiative because I had to try harder.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning. And then now I'm not trying as hard because I already got her.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, like to be honest with you, I mean, I was in a long relationship. This was 13 years.
Wow.
Even before then, I've had 5-year relationship. Honestly, I haven't been with too many relationships. There've been like 2 years, 5 years, 13. I'm 36. So do the math.
Right.
You know, it's like, okay, you've been just with somebody this entire time. And each one of those ladies that I've been with came to me
Okay.
because of the confidence that I had.
Yeah.
And especially with my ex, she was just, I remember seeing her, I saw her at a club, and she looked at me, I looked at her, and it was just, I was already leaving, so I had no fucking money. Even though I act like I had it, I had no fucking money.
But you
So I
had
was
that
like,
confidence,
I gotta
man.
fucking, so I was leaving, I was already on my way out, so I fucking bounced, and I was like, fuck, man, I really wanted her, but then it was like, ni modo. And then fucking, like, months went by, dude, like, or maybe a year, I'm not so sure. Fucking saw her again, and I was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I fucking see her again, like, it's her. And then I was like, she looks a little bit chunkier, right? You know what I mean? I was all like, but is it her? I was like, I don't know if it's her. And then she fucking comes to me, starts talking to me, and I was like, it is her.
Yeah.
I was like, it is her. And I was like, oh shit. And then 13 fucking years later, and
Yeah.
We are.
so yeah, man, it's fucking crazy that yeah, but I always had that fucking confidence. And then when she fucking told me the same shit. She was all like, I was like, what the fuck got you to come to me? She was like, dude, you fucking walked like you owned the fucking place. Like,
And even when you were broke, you had it.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So I was just like, and she tells me, like, you fucking, like, you don't understand. Like, you had me. Like, as soon as I saw you, you just walked so confidently. Like, I was all like, who the fuck was that motherfucker? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I try to regain that shit and just try to own it. It's a little bit more difficult. It's a little bit more different because when you talk and you act like that, it's like, it's
You
a
have to
certain,
maintain it.
yeah, but it's kind of like, sometimes it's bullshit because you don't give a shit.
Okay.
You get me?
But
Like,
then once you
you,
start to care, it changes.
that's the fucking thing. Is that when you fucking hit feelings, panochitis comes into your system. You start to fucking feel like you don't want to, you know what I mean? You start to not want to be a certain way. It's like, hey, like, you know, like if you, I mean, I was real dominant. You get what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I fucking said wash the fucking dishes. What the fuck happened? You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, hey, ponte la bola, like. And I was like, well, I got ready, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you ain't fucking going. The dishes aren't fucking
Yeah.
done. Like, I'm going to go do shit. When I come back, make sure it's ready and we get the fuck out of here. And then when I would come back, everything was fucking done. And it was like, badass. All right, let's go. And then there's no fucking issues. And then now I fucking come home and it's like, I'll fucking see that she didn't do the dishes or whatever the fuck. And it's like, pues me quito las botas. And it's like, yeah. I'm like, I thought we were going. It's like, nah, pues you didn't even do shit. So fuck it, we ain't doing nothing.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Same outcome, but different energy.
yes,
Different energy.
very different. And it was like, so did she do the fucking dishes? No. it just stayed, and then we're just gonna eat at home because now she's not gonna get, like, in a sense, it fucking sounds weird, rewarded. You know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna go somewhere. So she's just like, well, fuck it then. And then it just became an easy way of like, hey, like, I'm just gonna do what I want.
Yeah, you got comfortable.
Yeah, the comfort level of having somebody to know that she can also do whatever the fuck she wants, it became different. And then it became where, because everybody says it has to be like even, you know what I mean?
It's not true.
I don't,
That's not
yeah,
true.
like, I believe it has to be odd. Like,
Yeah,
somebody
it
has to,
Yeah.
you know, somebody has to dominate, somebody has to rule, somebody, you know, there has to be.
If it's even, here's the thing what happens. I love that you brought that up, man. It's a great conversation because if it's even, you're going nowhere. Like you're doing nothing fast.
I believe it's going to create like a conflict. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's going to be like, like I fucking said I wanted to go here. Well, I said I wanted to go here. And
How
it's
is
like,
it even? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we talked about this last time that you're in a relationship where you create a tally. Oh, but we went to your place last week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, but you didn't do the dishes, so I get to do this. Like you start tallying it up, and then you never get out of that.
It's what I like to say. It's like when you get into a house full of questions with no one has answers.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
That's dangerous.
That's
I
a
hate
really
that,
good.
though.
That's a really good way to say
So
Yeah.
it's everybody's like, you know, because it's like a fucking you have lawyers just answer a question
Yeah.
with a question,
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
but you don't get nowhere.
This
Yeah.
is not the
So-
Socratic method. We're not about to do it that way.
So
I
yeah,
love
man.
that.
So
I love that.
if you fucking do that in a relationship, it's like, oh man, it's almost
never,
dead.
I'm never
you know?
gonna forget that. I'm never gonna
Yeah.
forget what you just
I
said.
like
Getting
that.
into a house full of questions. I feel like that's really good. And going back to the topic of fire and desire, it burns out into that. It's
Yeah.
like a fire. It'll burn up very intense at first, then slowly just candle out into
You gotta
something
keep
like
feeding it.
conformity and stuff like that. So it is exhausting to say the least. But the best way you can do it is kind of the solution that he has is, okay, what can I do to
Yeah.
bring the fire back in myself?
Yeah.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah, between me and the ex, she kind of made it clear that that's like kind of like what we needed to do is to find, because she really lost herself in her situation, and so did I. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And very, very dramatic, life-changing experience have happened within a short period of time
Yeah.
that made us realize, like, are we for each other, or are we not, or were we there for the moment? You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Was it
So
that
she
fire?
kind of puts it in that perspective, and I had said some shit that I had said because it's kind of like understanding like another relationship, like to move. I want to know like me becoming myself to get somebody else, but then if I do find somebody else, I feel like all the tests that she's been through can never be tested again because both of my parents are no longer with me. And she was the most caring thing for me. I think she did an excellent job in getting my back. And I kind of feel like those were my weakest points of my life, you know what I
Okay.
mean? And she fucking passed it with flying colors. So I feel like if I fucking get with somebody else, will I know that the next person is going to be as like
Supportive.
feed of me, you know what I
No,
mean?
and,
Like,
the question arises to me now, and it did in the past when we were talking about this, but this can go one of two ways. You can completely heal from everything that's happened to you and move on, hopefully in time, into a healthy relationship, or you're going to continue to have these habits and these things,
Yeah.
this anger and hurt in you, and the next person's going to try to carry it for you.
I hear
And
you.
then that will be a testament to you of how much they care for you.
It's
I
tricky.
don't, that's not really healthy, though, in my opinion.
It's not. I mean, you're kind of
It's tricky because, and here's the thing, because we're going back to the original premise that I mentioned, is putting it on another person's hands.
Yeah.
I get it, it's a relationship.
yeah.
But as soon as you put something, anything, on another person's hands, it's out of your control.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It makes it that much more harder, that much more difficult. And then comes that shining moment when you put it in somebody else's hands and they pass with shining colors. And now you have a relationship, right?
Yeah.
I get that. So I feel like when it comes to what you said is, will the next person get my back the way that one time that I was at my lowest?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like that's very difficult.
Yeah.
That's a very
It is
difficult answer.
difficult because I've been in that position where I was in a relationship where he had expectations, right? Like he had these hurdles, and I didn't even notice it, right? That somebody had to pass in order for him to be like, oh, like you're gonna be my person now. And I did not realize that there was even hurdles there because of just the way that I naturally am. If there's a problem, I'm gonna figure out a way to get through it. We're gonna get through it and then keep going. That's just the way it is. And so I guess whatever things were coming our way were just like natural occurrences to me. But when it finally came down to it, wasn't an issue on his end, it was an issue on my end. There was no support whatsoever. And all I got was an I expected better from you.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so then I turned around and I said to him, I'm a fucking good woman. I don't deserve this, right? And what makes you think in your mind that I cannot fail? That it is not acceptable for me to fail?
Yeah.
He had nothing to say about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the other side of the spectrum of what he just said.
Yeah.
When you were at your lowest,
Yeah.
someone didn't pass with shining colors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's that runoff.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like how do you know the next person is going to get your back? And it's tricky because you could have an experience like his.
Yeah.
You could have experience like yours. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But the point is, you need to kind of. I think that's the answer. Is you need to kind of experience it.
Yeah.
You have to go through
Yeah.
it.
You have to go through
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
hard. That's hard. That's real hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that for right now, for where I'm at, as you fall more in love with yourself, people are just going to be naturally attracted to
Oh,
you.
yeah.
They're gonna want that for themselves.
They're never gonna fail. That's never gonna fail.
Yeah.
If you can see yourself and put yourself first forward and then pour that abundance onto other people,
Yeah.
then it's just through the roof, man. It's
Yeah,
through the roof.
absolutely.
Everybody will love you. Everybody, and it's just great. You're a giving person.
The goals. Yeah, I see. I mean, you kind of just always have to have a goal, like you say, man. You
Yeah.
gotta have a goal that you want to reach. Right now, really, to be honest with you, my motivation to get my shit together is mainly the fact that I'm a father. And to be honest with you, I'm like, it's the most rewarding fucking thing.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, man. It's fucking crazy. I don't understand how these deadbeat dads are existing, dude. That shit's fucking stupid.
I don't either.
Okay.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I-
It's a blessing, man.
It's so fucking like shit, dude. You know, if you want to rewind time from when I remember, seeing, my ex and then knowing that she had a kid, it's like, shit, do I bail?
Right.
I wanted to bail, you know what I mean? I was like, well, I don't know, we'll see.
And now look at you.
And then now it's like, fuck that. Like, I freak out, man, because I still remember this little creature, you know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
were this little, you know what I mean? And you would slobber all over everything, and then now you're a little princess looking it's very different. And the love, fuck, man, it's something
Changes your life.
dramatically, man, and it's just something that's unexplainable, the love that you create for a child, and then you have a drive to fucking want to be successful for that person.
You learn more from them than.
Yeah, man, and they don't notice it.
Yeah.
They're just there. They're fucking trying to, and it's like, it's funny because you can hold them up. Like, I don't know what meme I saw, something about holding them up, but you don't know. They don't know that they're actually holding you.
Oh
up
man,
somehow.
that's beautiful.
And I'm
That's
like,
beautiful.
man,
That's
that
absolutely
shit,
beautiful.
That shit hit really good. So I was like, it's something, man. It's
Go keeper.
Yeah, man, she's freaking awesome, man. So yeah, man, but that she really does set a fire in me to
There you go.
want to be successful. Man.
There's that fire because
Yeah.
you can get a fire. I feel like that's something a lot of people don't understand as well. Is fire and desire isn't linked just to a partner.
That's true.
It's linked to people
Yeah.
or an experience. You know what I mean? Maybe even your pet when you get home. That's a source of fire
Yeah.
for you. You know what I mean? But it's identifying that at the end of the day, the most valuable fire, ironically, is yourself.
Yeah.
And everything else, you can, like we said, when it comes to anger or anything else, you can be destructive or you can be constructive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's fire. It's either a tool or a weapon,
Yeah.
right? So that's very important.
And how you carry it
Yeah.
makes all the difference.
What about you? What do you? I'll wait till he finishes. What about you? What do you think about fire and desire?
About fire and desire. I think that when you have, it's important to have it first and foremost for yourself, of course. And like I've talked about self-love before, it has to be so deep and it has to be so full that when someone else tells you, I don't want you right now, I mean, like slightly on the inside, you're like, bitch, you're missing out. But like on the other hand, it's like, okay. So every time he does it, I'm just gonna start shaking. And when it comes to desire, I think it's important to want to be wanted, right? Especially like in terms, and I speak in terms of like a commitment, right, with somebody, because if you don't show someone that you want them, and you like, it's like almost like saying, if I don't want you, then I don't need you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
But the truth is, you don't really need them. You want to have them around.
Yeah.
Right. And as far as like I'm concerned, for me, I've had relationships where like the passion and the desire just wasn't there, and those relationships failed. But at the time, I didn't have an understanding in this sense of self-love that I do now.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
And that profoundly affected me for a long time, until like I healed that within myself, gave myself that self-love and acknowledgement. And so that now whenever I do decide to share, you know, myself, my time, my love with someone, it's a very genuine thing. And it's beautiful.
I agree. So when it comes to fire and desire, we're going to dial it back down to an actionable step, because I feel like most people, they can only just take one thing away from a conversation like this. This is a great conversation. I really like this one. I learned a lot. So what do you think when it comes to fire and desire? If you want more fire and desire from your life, what is the one actionable step? One piece of advice you'd give somebody?
I think you just gotta find what sets you to get fire. I think you gotta figure that out. Okay? I think you gotta figure out what is the motivation, what's the motive, you gotta find it first, and then there's action that has to take place.
Right.
You know, I just really think that that's what it is. You kind of have to find it within to find a reason, because other than that, it just relapse into a situation where you kind of just feel like, you could fail. You could easily fail and just bail out of everything. But I think if you find the actual source of what makes you want to ignite it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What makes you want to just drive. And I think after you find that type of fire, I think everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
I like that.
So.
And what about you?
When it comes to fire and desire, I feel like, in contrast to what he said about finding it, I prefer a lot better creating it. I feel like, nice. And because it's at least for me, it's a lot hard for me to find something that might just not exist, you know? Yeah. So I much rather just create it myself, and that's a lot harder because you fail a lot. You fail a lot. But what most people don't understand is success is literally built on a mountain of failures.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And if you really want that fire and you want to pass it on to the next generation, like your kids, you have to let them know, hey, it doesn't matter if you fall down 3 times, you have to get up 4 times. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's creating a fire versus trying to find it. Whereas I feel like finding it works really well for people that are just naturally a source of light, like your father. Your father was a great source of light. And that once you find it, you just burn and you light up the whole room. Right. You know what I mean? He brought a smile to my face, and I've never even met him.
Same.
You see what I mean? And that's a very powerful gift, right? But for those people that don't have that gift naturally, you can create it. You know what I mean? There's no reason for you not to just go deep inside your own soul and just create it and then just live off of it. It's gonna be hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's the same thing with a lot of people that think, oh, he was an overnight success, but that overnight success didn't happen overnight. It happened in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the brunt of what people don't understand now, especially with social media, like we've talked about. But that would be my answer to fire and desire, is if you don't have it, you don't emanate it naturally, you weren't given a gift like that, you have to create it.
Build your fire, yeah.
What about you?
Know yourself. know yourself, right? If you don't know who you are,
How's anybody else?
how is anybody else?
Yeah.
You know, like if you go camping, right, and you build like a fire, right? You have to have your tinder, you have to have like your source of like fuel for burning, of course, then you have to have something to light the fire with. Who you are is the tinder and the wood at the bottom.
Yeah.
Know yourself.
You gotta know yourself. Yeah. And that sets you apart, whether you're gonna light that fire or not. What if you don't have enough?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What if there's just something lacking in your life that you just don't have enough of to get that fire?
Absolutely.
You know, going.
Yeah.
I think this is a great conversation, man.
Yeah.
I think I learned a lot. I had a lot of fun from this one.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the next one.
I know, and we got a lot of Marvin in the background now.
That's okay. That's okay. It adds character.
You know, he just wants to have his moment.
Yeah. We'll give him his moment. I think we should do an entire episode just interviewing him.
Absolutely.
All right. I think we're